We're back. Coast to
Return.
Coast Rugby, Autumn Nations Series week. How excited?
I'm so excited for all the rugby that we get to watch. I'm once again going to complain about the wake up time for me, but otherwise nervous, excited. This is, I think, for an All Blacks fan, this is the telling part of the year. So very ready to crack into it. Unsure if I'm ready for the discourse.
Yeah, nothing tougher than England, Ireland, France on tour in November. New coach, it's all set up for a big one for New Zealand. And to be fair, for everybody else, there's so many big games this November. I'm beyond excited for it. Hopefully, I'm worried about that first game. I'm worried about that All Blacks match for Ireland, in the same way that I'm sure you're worried about England, because nobody wants to get off to a losing start.
It feels like, especially for us, looking at the lineup of games and the order they're being played in, the momentum is probably going to play quite a big part. And I think, that confidence boost at the start is going to be very important. But that's acting as if Twickenham, playing England at Twickenham, Allianz Stadium.
Allianz Twickenham.
is an easy task, which it absolutely is not. So, I'm eager to crack into it.
Well, we got an early team naming from England. We didn't think we'd have lineups. Still haven't got the All Blacks, obviously, but England doing the channeling Rassie Erasmus and South Africa in a number of ways. The early team naming, the 6-2 split on the bench. I was really surprised by that. Like, Steve Borthwick, not known for pulling kind of a fast move with selection, but
why do we think he did it?
I think he watched the Rugby Championship. That's my take. I think, the first game between South Africa and the All Blacks, when they did empty the bench in the second half and then they were able to really put the squeeze on, I think he thought, let's do that.
The blueprint has been laid well and truly.
Yeah. And I also think, they have got the personnel to do it. Like, they've got so many giant athletic forwards that they can do it. I do think they've left themselves a bit short on back cover on the bench, potentially, if they have the wrong injuries. Against England, actually, last season in the Six Nations, Ireland came unstuck because we had a 6-2 and then we ran out of subs and we had Gibson Park playing on the wing. So, risk and reward. We'll have to see what happens on the day. But
it's a big task for Marcus Smith, I feel. Like, that's sitting pretty squarely on his shoulders, I feel.
Yeah, interesting that, I don't know how much in New Zealand you guys know about Finn Smith, the guy who has been second choice. It's interesting for him that he's just not involved at all, and they brought Ford right back in. I wonder. I think Marcus Smith has some demons to exercise, right? Because he missed a few kicks on the tour in July. Although I thought otherwise he was really good.
Fantastic, agree.
Yeah. So if he performs to that level again, but he nails his kicks, like, I think the jersey's his now anyway, but that will cement it for sure.
Absolutely. Notable absence, I thought, was Sam Underhill in that lineup. Have we had an explanation?
Yeah. So Steve Borthwick said he's been getting over ankle surgery or an ankle injury, but Ford's in the squad. He's not played for ages. Dombrandt's in the squad. He's not played for ages. Henry Slade's had 30 or 50 minutes of rugby this season. Like, it hasn't stopped him picking other players. So there's a real, I was really shocked by that. Like, and I've seen there's been a lot of discourse about Sam Underhill on rugby Twitter. People have been throwing stats around, and the two camps seem to be that, like, the camp that I'm in, which I just think he's unbelievable. Like, he puts in huge tackles. He was a big part of Bath and their run to the final in the Premiership last year. I thought he was good in July. But the haters say that he's not as productive during games. Like, if you look at his stats, like, he gets through less passes and less offloads and that kind of thing than other back rowers. But I think that's because a lot of what he does is grunt and it's kind of invisible.
It's giving Sam Cane. Giving Sam Cane.
Yeah, it's pretty similar though, right? Underappreciated. Yeah. They'll both put in monster hits, like real confidence boosters for their teams. But yeah, I was surprised to see Underhill not in there. Because, like, Ben Curry, who's on the bench, has been on ridiculous form. Tom Curry, we all know how good he is, but I don't think he's been on his best form when he's been playing. But there's clearly a plan.
We just
we'll
don't
see how
know
it goes. Yeah, they also an interesting one. They picked Nick Ezekwe on the bench, and he is a guy who had like massive reputation, huge expectation on his shoulders. He's been around for a little while now. Like he's still pretty young, but hasn't quite popped in the way that people were expecting. And if he comes on, and I think people are still waiting for that breakout performance from him in an England shirt. And if he was to come off the bench and make a big impact, it could be the start of something. You do feel that he's been motoring. So yeah, so many interesting stories.
What about in that front row? I feel like that's going to be that was probably the area that New Zealand got its biggest leg up against England, and it allowed us to win those games potentially where it felt like maybe we shouldn't. We see the return of Alice Genge. Yep. We see maybe for the first time in a while as well that there's no Marler or Cole in that starting lineup. What do you think the reason is for that, do you reckon?
I don't know, because since the World Cup, his move has been one of Marler and Cole on the field at all times just to hold the scrum up. And he's abandoned that now for Genge being back. And Genge is playing ridiculously well for Bristol. Like he's having a great season, so I can see why he's in there. But I thought they might have started Baxter, because I do think he's probably, it's marginal, but I do think he's probably a better scrummager. As it is, that when they bring on Dan, Baxter, and Cole, like in the scrum, I think that's a stronger front row than the one they're starting with. But New Zealand have two ridiculous front rows at this point.
Well, and I think when we talk about the scrum, particularly in recent times, and I'm obviously no expert, so much about this whole kind of dark arts, and it's so much about painting pictures for the referee. I find it really interesting to think about bringing on a stronger front row later, because I think by that time you've maybe the story's being told a little bit to the referee, and so then are they going to have to counteract something that might be quite difficult to overcome? I don't know at all. Someone will know more than me, but I think that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think when you bring a new front row on, you've got a chance to reset it, but particularly if that first decision goes against you, and if you've been on the wrong end of the scrum calls for the whole game, that first one goes against you and you're done. That's that. But yeah, I'm fascinated. Will New Zealand, I guess most likely will go with De Groot and Lomax, Taylor.
Most likely, but I think there's definitely started to be a little bit of talk around. I don't think Tyrell Lomax, he's, I think, such an unsung hero, one of the best props in the world. One eye, obviously, but I truly think that. And he's been so stable for so long. De Groot, the same, but I think since he had that neck injury that set him out for sort of 4 weeks, he's still been fantastic. But I think the ascension of Tamaiti Williams has forced some questions, and Jason Ryan kind of said as much after the Japan games. So it would be very interesting to see Tamaiti Williams, Cody Taylor, Tyrell Lomax. But who knows what they'll do, and we don't have the team.
Yeah, but if you start Williams and then you spring Tosi from the bench, it's the whatever about the scrum, the carrying threat is amazing. Like, it's exciting.
It's very exciting. Someone else, sorry, just always still on the England team. I think the standout performer, or someone who made New Zealanders really stand up and notice them in the series in July, was Alex Mitchell. So it feels like such a shame that he's not there. And obviously the All Blacks halfback makeup looks quite different now to that England series. So it would have been a very, very interesting matchup in that way, I reckon, had he been playing.
Definitely. Like, I think he's massively underrated, even still here. Like a lot of England fans, for whatever reason, aren't convinced. But like the way you only have to look at Northampton in the league this season, how much they're struggling without him. And he just brings something a little bit different. He's able to dictate the tempo. He's a really good attacking threat, but he makes good decisions at the same time. However, Ben Spencer has been unreal the last 2 years for Bath in the Prem as well. And he only ever gets like 15, 20 minutes, sometimes only 10 minutes at the end of a game. And I think it's quite hard to show everything you've got in that time. So this is a big opportunity for him. And he is class as well. Like, he's a very different type of player. But yeah, if he has a good performance, I think people will stand up and take notice of him too, because he really can do so much. Like, he can kick pretty well off both feet. He spots space all the time. He loves to snipe. And he's just a leader. You can tell.
Okay, on notice.
Yeah,
more English halfbacks.
someone else who I think announced themselves, Furbank, in July.
God, yes.
Yeah, like, again, having a brilliant season at club level, has added so much because of his versatility and because of his skill set. I think he's going to have a big performance at the weekend. He's been brilliant.
Did I read, or do I have it wrong? Is he the captain of Northampton now? No.
Yeah. No, he is.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think I read that. So, you know, I guess now that he's got that added leadership baton.
Yes.
Huge. He was very impressive. And because they didn't have him for Eden Park, and lots of people kind of said,
yes,
we would have won if we had George Furbank. So I guess prove it.
Yeah.
I might live to regret that.
Yeah. So it's one of those, like, selection surprises. They're definitely going to go for it. All eyes on the All Blacks now. And what team are they going to pick?
I think, well, the Japan game was kind of meant to give us a bit of an indication, right? And I think the interesting part was DMAC starting at 10 for Japan.
Yeah.
Does that indicate that Bodie is starting at 10 this weekend, which will obviously be quite an abrupt turn from Razor?
But Perafita's back, isn't he? So you don't worry about who's going to start at 15. Like,
depends.
Well, to me, the fact that Razor brought him straight in and started him in July tells me he wants. That's going to be early indications anyway. That's his guy, right?
But Will Jordan.
Oh yeah, of course. And that means you could get, who do you start on the wings? Clark.
Well,
Clark.
My preference is you do Clark, Talia, Blues axis, but
do you not think that Talia playing against Japan means that he's not going to play this week? That was what I assumed. Was there's you look through that Japan team sheet, there were a couple of senior players who you're like, they're definitely going to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to have been starting against Japan if I was a senior player.
Yeah, I think that was the indication. I just think I personally would like to see Talia there. But yeah, there's obviously Perafita, maybe Jordan on the wing.
Yeah.
Big questions. And also, there's a bit of a loose forward crisis happening for us at the moment.
Talk me through it.
Oh, so right before they were meant to leave, injury update, All Blacks not traveling with the team to Japan is Luke Jacobson, Ethan Blackadder, and Dalton Papali'i. They are all injured.
Oh, wow.
All injured. Luke Jacobson has been ruled out of the whole tour. Dalton and Ethan are going through, I believe, their final, getting their running up. Yeah. And then potentially will fly over, but they won't be there for this test. So that means that we're presuming that the starting loosies is probably Satiti, Kane, Savia.
Yeah.
That means that on the bench it's either Samapeni Finau or it's Peter Lakai, fresh off debut. So I'll be very interested to see what happens there.
How did Finau go against Japan?
I think he put in a good performance. Lots of people were really raving about it, but I think it was a ball carrying performance,
Right. Yeah.
I think he put in a pretty deadly step on someone as well. But I don't think that's what we're going to necessarily be asking of all of our loose forwards in their test match against England at Twickenham.
Yeah, probably not. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I think that will be a big question mark. And the other one will be halfback, I think. I don't know which way they'll go.
I was talking to Murray about this yesterday. It's you can read the Japan selection so many different ways. Ratama being left out, my first thought is he's starting at Twickenham. But then it's Roygaard needs the minutes, so that's why he started. Perenara coming off the bench. But then it's you would probably want the experience coming off the bench against England at Twickenham as well. So you can read it any selection you want. You can find a justification for it in that Japan selection. But who would you go with? Not who do you think? Who would you go with? I can tell you who I'd go with.
I think I'd go Cortez to start.
Yeah.
And I think you bring Roygaard off the bench.
I would. That's what I'd do too. I'd roll the dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with Cam, right?
Yeah.
Alexis Soul, so much promise. We're all super excited about him. Obviously, you can see he's got so much potential. He's played now 6 tests.
Yeah.
2 against Australia, Uruguay, Italy, Namibia. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that our pool? And then Japan.
Yeah.
Get him up against that tier 1 opposition. Show me what you can do. And he's clearly a very driven, very competitive guy. Here's your stage. That's my argument, I think.
I think the England team selection, like, makes that even more sensible to me. Because, like, they've got Randall on the bench. He's a real, like, dynamo. He's always looking for a snipe, always looking for an opportunity. He's going to keep the tempo really, really high. I think you've got to fight fire with fire, haven't you?
Yeah, and that's not to discredit. I think TJ's made some huge moments in those end of game passages, particularly against the Wallabies, some big tackles. But I think he also, as his Hurricanes teammate, I think will be priming Cam for a moment like this. And I think he fully understands. Like, if there's a player in that team who fully understands leaving that jersey and priming someone to walk into it, I think TJ Petinata's your guy.
Who did he smash against Australia? Was it Salakai Lotto? It was one of the big lads anyway. He made a huge...
I know he smashed Tate McDermott at one point, but then he definitely got a big guy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Spoiled for choice, the All Blacks. I know they're...
The only reason I would want TJ in the 23 is because a certain English player today decided to tweet that the haka was rubbish and needed to be binned. And I just think TJ Petinata would offer the perfect haka in response to that.
I mean, why get them upset? You're just adding fuel to the fire, you know?
Have we not learned off the ball? You learned with the Springboks. I mean, who knows? Maybe we won't have like a classic All Blacks response to people talking schmack, but it seems like a nice idea.
Yeah. I mean, God, like, people always talk about, sticking it up in the dressing room wall. Like, God, if there's ever a time, to print out somebody's tweets and put them up on the wall, it's now.
That's exactly. I shared it on my Instagram and wrote, "Put this one on the team meeting room wall."
Yeah. Well,
not that they'll see it, but
exactly. Like, yeah. I mean, look. On the one hand, it adds hype, right? And it adds a talking point before the game. On the other hand, like, it's a bit silly, but we move.
It's no Johnny Sexton, Rico Ioane. It's not that.
That's true. Yeah, God, I can't wait for the Ireland game. That subplot is going to be massive.
Is Johnny Sexton going to go to the game?
100%. He'll be there. 100%. He's going to take up a coaching role, I think, with the team. So
I did see that. I did see a little rumor on the rumor mill.
I mean, the man, his autobiography, it's called Obsessed, right? The man is obsessed. That's his whole thing. So how is he ever going to walk away? And
that's what makes an elite athlete. Like, they're 100%. All obsessed. And that's why you and I couldn't be professional athletes, because I don't have that part of my brain.
It's one of the many reasons why.
No, it is the only.
Yeah, so I guess we should. It's hard to do a prediction when you haven't seen the New Zealand lineup. Looking at,
I guess maybe, it's interesting as well, because the way the rugby calendar is set up with internationals, like, you flip the script all of a sudden. So where it goes from England at the end of their season against an All Blacks team who hasn't played yet, now we've got the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I think also the All Blacks haven't had a great time at Twickenham in recent years. Obviously, that shocking loss to the Springboks last year. Yeah. And then I think we drew 2022. Yeah. We've lost every game since, or haven't won a game since 2018 there.
Wow.
So, I don't know.
I think England will really fancy it after July. I think they will have felt how close they were in those 2 games. The question is whether a bit of ring rust and the fact that, because the All Blacks have played a lot of rugby over the last couple of months. And, if they play the way that they played in that first test against the Springboks, it's going to be difficult for England, I think.
I think objectively the All Blacks are a better team than when they played in July.
Yes.
And that's a fact. I don't think we know if England are a better team than they were in July, because obviously it's the start of their season. I think the other thing is they've had a bit of change in everything. Now that we're in the remote working Felix Jones era, work from home. So I think on that basis,
and Mitchell is a big loss.
Mitchell is a big loss, and we've learned. I think our team actually is different. Have England faced Wallace Satiti? No, they have not. He wasn't even in the squad then.
Yeah.
So, oh wait, was he?
No, he was in that first squad, but I don't think.
No, you're right.
I don't think he played in July though, did he?
No, he played against Fiji. That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like they haven't played. Was Caleb Clark on the wing? I don't think Caleb Clark was on the wing then. So, I think I'm backing the All Blacks, but I think it will be very close because I do think England will fancy it. They'll be confident for sure.
Yeah.
And they should be.
Well, yeah, I can't make a prediction. We haven't seen the All Blacks. We don't know. But I think what I will say is I do think it's going to be tight. I think it'll be like July. Like I don't think there'll be much in it. It could be a really exciting game. It could be a lot of scores, but I can't see there being much in it. Yeah. Just excited for it to happen. All right. So the other game this weekend, Scotland, Fiji. I think for Scotland, it's only the Scottish-based players who are available. I don't think I don't want to. Although no, because there's no Premiership matches, so why wouldn't they be available? I am confused about who's available for Scotland, so I don't know what sort of a team they'll pick.
Not a problem that we have. Like Super Rugby is done. It is done, finished. This makes no sense to me how this happens. Well, it does, but wild.
Yeah. But either way, given the fixtures that Scotland have, if there's a chance for them to experiment, it might be this game. They've got the Portugal game as well, but I think they've picked a really big squad. They've picked like a 45-man squad. So clearly some of those guys are in there for the Portugal game, and then everyone else is going to be competing for the bigger test matches. They got Fiji, Australia, and South Africa. One thing's for sure, England, New Zealand will probably be super tense and edge of your seat stuff, and then this should be a bit of fun.
Can we give a shout out to newly anointed Scotland captain Sione Tuipulotu, his brother Moseti also getting selected? We love to see. He has been, even by his own standards, ridiculous so far this season. He's had a great start to the season, and I think he's an amazing player. He's just been class for Glasgow. Big. It's a huge difference for Scotland getting him on board and getting him in the team. But yeah, tries. I think we'll see tries. I think that's a fair shout. I think I might agree with you on that one, that we'll see tries. Unless it devolves into some sort of rain-drenched affair. Even then, still tries. We've seen what the Fiji Drua did in the rain in Lautoka this year.
I think some big hits, hopefully a good game. Fiji, they'll be eyeing a scalp, right? Like they'll want to get. They're playing. Who are they playing? Ireland. They're playing Scotland
and Wales.
Well, they'll really fancy that Wales game, but yeah, Scotland probably. If you're going to take a chunk out of somebody, out of Scotland and Ireland, if you're Fiji, you're probably targeting the Scotland game, right?
Yes. Sorry, just the thought of Fiji beating Ireland ran through my head. I was like, wow, how good would that be?
I mean, it's one of those. I wouldn't even be that upset. It would just be amazing. It would just be amazing.
I think because they're obviously in a bit of a, I don't want to say transition, but new coach with Nick Byrne coming in, bit of continuity given his previous position with the Ndrua, but Fiji on tour, and obviously also facing. There's been a bit of And I've not quite got to the bottom of what actually is going on with the Fiji Rugby Union, but it has been seemingly quite tumultuous. Pardon?
Yeah. Something's going on.
Something is going on. The union is saying it's the players being greedy. The players are saying they haven't been paid for things from the World Cup last year. Yes, a mess.
Yeah. Well, without picking a side, although I have my suspicions, without picking a side, I hope they resolve it.
Yes, absolutely. And I hope everything is paid for this trip and everything goes.
Yes. Did you see the squad?
I had a brief. I just saw your video just before this.
Well,
so I can parrot your talking points.
Yes. No, Bottia is sad. I love watching that guy.
What an icon. How old is he now? I feel like he must be kind of.
I think he. Sorry, Lavani, but I think he looks a bit older than he is. I don't think he's as old as you might think.
He is 35.
Oh my God. Jeez, he moves pretty good for a 35-year-old.
Have you seen that meme that's like me, a 30, like me sitting on my couch at home, and then it's like sports commentator, and here they come at age 32,
at the ripe old age.
Oh, so funny. At risk of sounding like that. Yes, always a shame not to see him. He was one of the standouts of the World Cup, which is unfortunate. You know who I'm excited to see? Because obviously he plays top 14, and I think he's got a bit of the Jackie Lorenzetti treatment, but Tuisova, I hope that he gets into like a bit of beast mode, you know?
Yes, would be great to see. You know, with him, with Radradra, like there's still plenty of big names in there. It's a shame we won't see Ravitolmada. But it's a chance for some of the guys who shone at the Pacific Nations Cup. Greatest respect to the other teams there. The level of competition is just not the same that you see in the autumn. So it'll be interesting to see how those players make a transition. And do we end up with some new Fijian stars as a result, right? Because every time there's a big injury, it's just a space for someone new to come in, make a name for themselves. And you know, one of the jewels in the World Rugby crown, Fiji, like so good to watch. Such a ridiculous production line of players for a place where the union doesn't have much money or resources or anything is amazing.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see. Obviously, the Indroa scrum was the most successful in Super Rugby this year, and they've a huge amount of players are in the Flying Fijians from that team because it's obviously meant as a pathway team. So I'm excited to see how they go up in the north in the winter, potentially playing a more scrum dominant kind of game.
Yeah, and as time goes by, just the cohesion that they'll have from that big Drua contingent is gonna. I mean, I know it's helped already, but it's only going to continue paying dividends, right? Like.
Totally. I'm excited for the same with Moana Pacifica and the other Pacific nations, for sure.
So tell you what, we've got no teams for Scotland, Fiji. How, rather than any prediction or anything, like 1 to 5, 5 being extremely likely, 1 not being likely at all, where do you sit on the potential shock meter?
5 being really likely.
Yeah, 5 being like, I think there's going to be an upset. 1 being there's 0 chance.
3.5.
This game. Okay. So slightly more towards the upset.
Yeah. I think so. Are they in Scotland yet? Because I know that was. I would not be able to find that information quickly.
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine they are.
Yes, but then I know there was an issue when they were traveling. I think the Pacific Nations Cup, something happened. I mean, not that it really impacted their performance. Sometimes I feel like maybe in and amongst the chaos, they're able to just like turn it on, right, against the odds. So
famously a difficult nation of people to stress. So, you know, I think they just go with it.
Yeah. No, I'm 3.5. Where are you sitting?
I think I want it more than I believe in it. You know, I think I'm probably sitting at a 2, but I would love it if Fiji could like this weekend. What you want is like a showpiece between England and New Zealand. And then you want something exciting out of Scotland, Fiji. And the most exciting thing that can happen out of Scotland, Fiji is a shock. Like if Scotland go out and win the game, it'll be business as usual. But yeah, hoping for Fiji to, you know, create a moment for us like they did against England before the World Cup.
Totally.
It would be brilliant to see.
Gosh, I feel like I've aged 10 years.
It feels like a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago. But that's a good segue. the other thing that we saw in that England game is Caleb Muntz at 10, which I know he played in the Pacific Nations Cup, but I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen that. A really classy operator. Great to see him back in a Fiji shirt. And I mean, he was putting on performances against the top teams before the World Cup. So I reckon he'll do that again in November.
He was definitely, I remember, everyone had kind of flagged him quite early on going into the World Cup. Like, this is someone you need to be watching. And it felt like such a huge loss when he went down. And, you know, people, obviously off the back of that England game, people were going, this is Fiji's year.
Yeah.
And they managed to kind of still perform, but you wonder,
they made a quarterfinal without him. What if he'd been there? You know? Fine margins.
Isn't it always? Can we get through a podcast episode without saying fine margins?
No, never. It's so funny because it's like, it's the thing that permeates every discussion you ever have. People are, you know, every time you make a definitive statement about rugby, there's a voice in my head which is like, yeah, but fine margins though. Like, could easily have gone the other way. And, you know, so much is said off the back of split-second decisions and all that kind of thing. I can never get my head around it.
No. And increasingly so, right? Like, it feels like the margins are becoming finer and finer.
Yeah. The teams are just getting better. So what we thought we would do to wrap up is just have a look at each team, have a quick overview of their tour, and then talk about success and what we're expecting, maybe things to look out for. So I think it's fair to say we're both looking forward to the same game the most.
What game could it be?
Yeah, what could it possibly be? So why don't we start with New Zealand and Ireland?
I can't like verbalize. It's just the storylines are matching up too perfectly. We obviously have the World Cup fiasco situation, the emotional turmoil from that, which will be motivating the Irish team. Then we have Rieko Ioane versus the Aviva crowd that is certainly going to happen. Johnny Sexton will probably be there. I think then, I actually just, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to me.
It's exciting.
That probably speaks to our relative confidence levels.
I don't know. I'm like, Ireland have, you know, we've a couple of injuries, like potential issue at hooker. Not sure who they'll go with in the back row. Peter O'Mahony being out. How that affects the way they arrange the bench. Like, there are questions there for Ireland, you know? And obviously being at home, being world number one again, by not playing over the summer. Yeah, I think you back them being at home, but we have been stung many, many times by and well, like we say, we've been stung. There was a long time where we weren't even really playing the same game, and now we've got up to the level and we've still been stung many times. So you just never feel confident saying, oh yeah, I think we'll win the game. They're good enough to win the game.
Totally.
Is what you say. But, you know, it's so big for the tour. It's our biggest game by far. You know, you've got 3 huge games. Do you think this is the biggest just because of the World Cup of it all and stuff on your end as well?
Yeah, I do wonder, you know, they would never admit it. And, you know, probably the mark of being a professional athlete is stopping yourself from getting too far ahead in your thinking.
Yes.
But one eye has certainly been on this game since it was announced, you know? And I can't... I need to learn how to verbalize things because it's just too much. But that's going to be a hugely exciting game. There's so much vested interest in it. The outcome, I've been thinking about, you know, can we, even if we lose, I guess we can still say, but, you know, it's not a knockout game in a World Cup, you know, but I actually think it would sting severely.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it'll sting. Whoever loses, it'll sting. Nobody wants to lose this game.
But I feel like
that's true of all of them though. Like, it'll sting if you lose to England.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any? I know, like, France beat you in pool play in the World Cup. It was inconsequential in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any bad blood around that game? Like, is there any revenge talk around that game? Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. Well, and you know, we maybe not bad blood around the game itself or any players or our relationship with France.
Yeah.
but more like, Geordie Barrett was out that game, Sam Cane was out that game. So, I think an opportunity missed.
Yeah.
For sure.
Maybe more bad blood in the director's boxes than
exactly.
Yeah.
Again, like we said last week, I would love to see the handshake between like the two CEOs.
Oh yeah. Something tells me there might not be one, but yeah.
Potentially not.
So you've got now. We'll cast aside the Japan game. So you've got England, Ireland, France, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
For you, what is success? Well, how many of those games do you think they'll win? Put you on the spot.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Do you remember before the World Cup, right? I had the exact same feeling where like everyone was kind of like the All Blacks, writing off the All Blacks. And so I was like, well, I can't back this. Well, obviously I can back them, but I'm not going to come out ardently saying that we're going to win every game.
Yeah.
I think we'll win England. If we lose Ireland, we'll definitely win France.
Okay.
And we'll win Italy. I think we can win 3.
Yeah.
I would love to win 4, obviously. That goes without saying. For the general public, I think 3 is a pass. For me, knowing the reality of touring Northern Hemisphere currently, 2 would be a pass, but it would be like a sad pass.
Yeah. Okay. I get you.
Yeah. So I've just covered every option.
God, the nerves are really getting to you this week. Huh?
I had too much coffee today.
For Ireland, obviously, they want to win 4. 3 is definitely a passing grade. If you lose a close match to the All Blacks and you win the other games, or if you manage to beat the All Blacks and then Argentina do a job on you, either of those would be fine. I don't think anybody would be losing any hair internally. Obviously, they want to win all 4 games, but yeah. And then, we're all ruling out the Aussies. I'm ruling out the Aussies, but I mean, they have been improving. Maybe the emotion of the day. Although it's going to be emotional for Ireland because of Joe Schmidt coming back. It's not really going to mean much for the Aussies, I don't think. And it's at the end of the tour, so if they've taken a few losses, then you'd be pretty confident. But yeah, I think 3. I think we'll win. I think we'll win 4. I do.
I think you might.
I might. Yeah. But 3 is definitely a passing grade.
Okay. 3 is okay.
Yeah.
Same. Okay. Should I delve into another Southern Hemisphere team?
Yes.
Start with South Africa.
Yeah.
Playing Scotland, England, and Wales. In my eyes, this is a disappointing tour. I wanted more from them. There should be an Ireland rematch, but this is what we're dealing with. And because this is the draw they have, a pass mark for them is 3. They have to win.
I think so too. I was actually at Twickenham the last time they played England there, and England won. And South Africa threw the game away. They definitely should have won. So I wonder if that'll be playing on their minds at all. That's a revenge fixture. They don't lose many matches.
No. But does that outpower or override the revenge factor of a 1-point loss in a World Cup semi-final that England will be harbouring?
It's a good question. When do England play them?
Oh, good question. I want to know.
Yeah. Oh, England have New Zealand and Australia first, and then they have South Africa. Be interesting to see what the injury toll is. What sort of a team England are able to put out. But South Africa, by contrast, will have had 1 game against Scotland, which, greatest of respect to Scotland, you'd expect South Africa to win.
That isn't the injury side of things just. Obviously the sport is attritional and it's always been a factor, but even ahead of these games, particularly with South Africa, people in and out of that squad in a matter of days, has been ridiculous.
Yeah, no Malherbe, no
Willemse.
No Willemse.
He only just got back.
I know. That's so sad, isn't it? Yeah, it's so sad to see. But Hendricks are back in. Hannah come in. I think a lot of fans are going to be introduced to him on this tour. Very exciting that he's involved. But it's one of those. There's so many big matches. Like, people will be dropping like flies. You know, the starting 15s in week 1 are going to look very different to the starting 15s in week 3.
Totally.
And I guess it's just about who deals with that the best.
Yeah, and probably if you were betting on any team, it probably would be South Africa to deal with that the best.
Yes, that's very true.
Okay. Do you want to do a Northern Hemisphere team?
Yeah, England. So they've got New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, and Japan. So I think a passing grade for them is 2. Like, if they lose to New Zealand and South Africa, but they put up good performances, I don't think anybody will complain. Although I saw Ben Earls in the media this week being like, we have to start winning these tight games now. And I'm sure those players feel that, like, they've been close on so many occasions, you know, obviously at the World Cup and then in July, that they probably need to win one now. But if England win 3 of the 4, if they beat New Zealand or South Africa, successful November, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd expect them to win the other games.
Yeah. Agree. Okay, I'm going to do Australia.
And you know what? People like proper predictions. So I actually think I have a feeling about that South Africa England game. I think it's going to be special. Oof. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything.
This is the post World Cup year, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
everything's so emotively driven.
Yeah.
Australia.
Yes.
I know you said you were counting them out. I feel like they're coming good. I don't know if anyone saw, but they just unveiled the jersey for the Lions tour, which I know obviously has no bearing on these matches, but it was so good and the reaction was so good that I just feel like the tides are turning.
Yeah.
Things are starting to click into place. The sentiment is positive, and so I'm riding the Wallabies train. What we didn't mention last week, and someone very kindly pointed out, is that Australia are on a Grand Slam tour.
How did we not get that?
Tragic from us. So they're playing England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. They can win 3 of these.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
I think realistically 2 is a pass, but I think they can get 3.
I mean, for them to go and win 2, I still think is a big ask.
Do you?
Yeah. Oh, it's one of those. It, like, if it catches fire. Oh, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Suali'i. Am I pronouncing that right?
Extra A. Suali'i.
Suali'i. Okay.
Yeah.
How much do you think we see of him? I reckon they might throw him in, you know. They've only got so many games before the Lions tour, and they obviously want him to be there for the Lions tour. I reckon I'd start him every game.
That's kind of what Joe Schmidt said, was like,
is it?
We've got limited time to get him ready for the Lions tour.
No Corbetty. Stick him on the left wing. Yep. See what he can do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, hell for leather, just drop him in there. He clearly seems pretty unfazed by it all. Like, he's really determined. I think some of his comments in the media have been really impressive around, like, I didn't really care what anyone was saying about me. Like, nothing was going to stop me from doing this. This is my dream. This is what I want to do. And they strutted him out for the jersey announcement. Like, he's been their number one model. Everyone's expecting to see him at this point.
I mean, he's built like a Greek statue. I'm not surprised.
I mean, I don't want to fall into, like, oh, brown boys look like adults when they're children, you know, really young. But I look at him and there is no way you are 21. You are like 6'5". Incredible. So I'm happy to buy into the Suali'i hype train as well, because I think it has been a nice little injection of excitement. They're playing. Is that the order that they're playing? Yeah, England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. Yes, it must be. Up against England straight off the bat. Why not?
It's interesting. The Welsh squad looks a lot better than it did for their July test, you know, because Australia got 2 wins, obviously, against Wales in the summer. But Wales look stronger.
Tell me why.
Thomas Williams and Anscombe back, both playing regularly in the Premiership, both playing well. Another Gloucester boy. Gloucester are basically just becoming a Welsh region at this point, is the joke in England at the moment. They've got so many Welsh players. A winger called a centre called Max Llewellyn has been brilliant so far. And yeah, you look at where the holes were on the summer tour, like the front row. They've got some players back in the front row. They recalled Nicky Smith, who's been really, really good for Leicester Tigers. I put him on the wrong side of the scrum in a predicted lineup in a video about Wales. I got absolutely hammered for it. Look, it's a fair cop. But yeah, so they just look as though they've strengthened a little bit. All the talk in July was, look, we've got injuries, we've got players missing, we have to give the young lads a chance. And now some of those older, more experienced players are back in the frame. And it just looks like there are a few more. I saw someone saying about it, it's a really interesting squad. And you can imagine a really interesting 23 or a really conservative 23 coming out of it. And it's sort of which way will Warren Gatland go? But I think the potential for much better performances is there for Wales.
Well, hey, snaps for that. That's what we want. What's the pass mark for Wales then?
So, well, they've got tough games, haven't they? So they got Australia, they've got Fiji, and they've got South Africa. Honestly, I think one is probably a pass mark. There'll be doom and gloom, though, if they only win one. Because they'll be doom. If they lose to Australia or Fiji, they'll be doom and gloom. But if they win 2, then I mean that's a good. No one's expecting them to. Yeah, no one's expecting them to beat South Africa either. So if they can go and win against Australia and against Fiji, then
that's what everyone expects them to do. Yeah,
yeah, and you can say they're no worse off than they were at the World Cup. They won both those games at the World Cup.
That's true. I feel like Fiji will be out for that one.
Yes, I think they will.
Everything about that game.
Yes.
Goodness. Who haven't I talked about? Fiji. Do we already talk about them in full on there? No, just Scotland.
Yeah. So Fiji have got Ireland,
Wales, and Scotland.
And Wales. Yeah. One is a pass, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, one is a pass. And they'll be targeting Scotland. Oh,
yeah.
No, they'll be targeting Wales out of that, surely.
Yeah, I would think so. But I reckon, they'll have a go at Scotland too, because you never know. Scotland might pick a few players that they want to have a look at.
Yeah.
And the last time Fiji came to Dublin, they played really well. Like, we still beat them, but it was a really good performance from them. They scored some great tries. So,
was their last game? Their last game was the Pacific Nations Cup final,
yeah,
against Japan, which wasn't really much of a test in the end.
No, they ran out pretty easy winners in the end, didn't they? Yeah.
So maybe that might not work in their favor, but
yeah,
that's the Fijian lineup. I think one is a pass. Would love to see 2.
Yes. And then to finish, Argentina and France.
Yes, you do France.
France have got Japan. France have actually got a little bit of a disappointing run. Japan, New Zealand obviously will be huge. And Argentina. I just wish there was a third big game in there.
How have France and Argentina managed to... Is that 4 games for them this year? No. Yes. No, 3.
It's 3. But yes, 3. That's a bit of a decider after the summer. Yeah, I think France, if they win 2, that's fine. But if you only win one of New Zealand, Argentina, you're going 50% against the teams on your level. It's not brilliant.
No. Yeah.
But the big thing for France is
getting a beating.
Dupont's back. So that's the big thing. It's like, is he going to come straight back, and are they going to rediscover their mojo like right away? To be fair, they kind of found it towards the end of the Six Nations last season anyway. But yeah, what France will we see is the question, I think.
Well, we're definitely seeing one without Intermac, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, so sad.
Just
How's your luck?
robbed at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Robbed again.
Yeah.
Same time of year. Awful. Feel for the guy. Really do. What a talent. Well, Argentina are playing Italy to start things off, then Ireland, then France. I reckon after their 1-1-1, yes, of the Rugby Championship, I think they'll be targeting that Ireland game. I think Conte will be.
Yes, he'll have a plan. He'll 100%
he will have
have a plan. Yeah.
The architect has been designing, and he will have a plan. And I think that might be I don't know if sleep is the right word, but obviously eyes are on All Blacks Ireland. Yes. But I think Argentina Ireland could be an absolute cracker.
Oh, I think so too. And to be fair, I think like the only reason there hasn't been more hype around it is because it's the third game and because the All Blacks is so big. But I think once Ireland and the All Blacks is out of the way, people will start talking it up, because Argentina were brilliant in the Rugby Championship.
So good
in patches. They had a few poor ones as well, but to get a win against all three of the other big teams and to look as competitive as they did, they must fancy some scalps on this tour.
Totally. So I think that Argentina passes two. Yeah.
Two with one big win. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I think.
I would agree.
Yes. I'm excited. This is a real tier 1, cement yourself, end of year tour, big moment.
Yes.
Very exciting.
And actually,
on the side that we haven't actually discussed is Scotland playing Portugal.
Yes. Italy also playing Georgia.
Oh,
this November. We forgot about the Italians, actually.
Sorry.
I don't know how many of you there are, but they've got Argentina, they've got Georgia, and they've got New Zealand.
God, remember at the World Cup and I was convinced Italy were going to banana peel us. I was so sure.
I know.
But that was the state of mind. You know how we were talking about, that was the state of mind we were in as a country. How times can change, isn't it funny?
Yes. It'll be interesting to see, because Italy are a much better team now than they were then.
Yes, agree.
How will they cope?
For
them, you'd expect them.
I'm suddenly overwhelmed again.
You'd expect them to beat Georgia. The Argentina game will be interesting, because I think those two coaches have been among the most impressive coaches on the international stage this year. And then the New Zealand game, I think it's more about how Italy cope. I don't think they've got enough to beat the All Blacks yet, but we will see.
We will see.
All right. Done it? I think we have, and we've gone nearly an hour, and people were complaining about how long the last one was.
Sometimes sorry, guys, videos are an hour, so I'm confused.
So sorry, guys. I know it's a long one, but it is the entire November internationals that we're talking about. And yeah,
that's it.
We've
done it. Right, thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment. We'll see you in the comments. Hopefully we haven't missed any obvious things this week, like brain science.
God. Yeah, let us know if we have, though. And
thank you.
It's time to get excited. We've got 5 weeks of incredible rugby ahead. Lots of content.
And we can all take a break for Christmas.
And then we can all have a break, yeah. All right. We will see you next time.
Thank you.